Good morning, everybody. So I want to start first by thanking the organizing committee for the invitation. This is the first time coming into this hospital, and it's a very good hospital. And then I know some of you guys, and it will be a great pleasure to get to know other physicians from this hospital. So today my task is to talk about artificial intelligence in endoscopy and whether it's a friend or a foe. And so these are my disclosures. So for the next 25 minutes or so, I'll be talking about artificial intelligence, and I'll be discussing certain terminology and nomenclature. And then we're going to try to differentiate between artificial intelligence and artificial humanity. And then our main focus is to talk today about the AI in endoscopy. I know that the meeting is about upper GI malignancies, but exceptionally today we'll be talking about the AI in the colonoscopy, actually in the lower endoscopy. And finally, we're going to conclude with certain discussions about the future of AI-assisted technologies and GI. So nowadays, there's a global excitement for artificial intelligence, and this has been exponential over the last few years. And it's from advanced in liver and driverless cars to advanced robotics. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that AI is not only in healthcare system. Actually, we are far behind other specialties around the world. And healthcare kind of is in the lower part, actually, and we're a little bit behind other specialties. So the widespread interest in AI, everybody has a sense that this is a recent thing, although in fact, this concept has been there for years now, and since the Aristotle study of logic, and since the Turing's extensive advances in computer science. And then finally, there's an attention of media and many big thinkers in science and technology, from Elon Musk to the late Stephen Hawking. So as much as there's negativity, there's also certain positivity, and ideas and concern of robots replacing workforces is kind of concerning to us. But the big question that we have always is whether AI is a friend or a foe. And the last question is, will it revolutionize GI practice or will it damage it? So first, we're going to start with certain terminology about AI. And we're going to try to understand the AI vocabulary, which becomes a necessity, not least, especially if our clinicians or researchers, they want to aim to develop a certain predictive models for use in clinical practice. So what is artificial intelligence? What's the definition of this? So it's the ability of a computer to perform a certain task which is associated with intelligent beings, including cognitive functions that might mimic the human mind, such as the ability to learn. So currently, AI has become the wide subject field, and then in the same way, GI has multiple subfields, like subspecialties, and these GI subspecialties, they all interact in many ways, and AI subfields are no different. So this is the Venn diagram of AI nomenclature, and then we'll go over them one by one. So this is the artificial intelligence, and then, okay. So here you go. So we have artificial intelligence, and it englobes the machine learning, and then deep learning, and then we have the computer vision, which kind of interacts with the three of the other ones. So the machine learning, it's very important actually to go through those terms. The machine learning, it refers to the area of the computer whereby a system can develop the ability to learn with data. So the main key point here is the machine is going to detect certain pattern recognition. So a computer system is going to develop an algorithm, and it's going to make a prediction on a data by recognition of patterns or features. So the predictive algorithm or model, it can further adapt to new circumstances. So we have the algorithm, and it's going to adapt to certain circumstances, and it's going to work as such. So how about deep learning? Deep learning refers to the machine learning algorithm that use layers of processing for feature extraction and transformation. What is feature extraction? Feature extraction is the selection of variables that seemingly have power in predicting a target, whereas transformation, it's transforming a data into means that can be used more effectively for building the model. I'm just going to give you a certain example or an analogy. If we take a full medical history, so we're going to extract from this medical history the information that we need to point to a certain diagnosis. So there's also a word which is called the neural networks. It's the same way that we use it in the human brain. So this method simulates interconnected neurons in order to recognize patterns as well, extracts features, and learn things about the data in order to predict a result. Let me give you an example here. If we're talking about inflammatory bowel disease, so the input nodes are going to be, we're going to kind of plug in the information of the patient, including demographics, clinical signs, serology, imaging, and then a scoring system or validated scoring system. So this input node, so we put all the information, it's going to take us to another layer. It's a hidden layer, and then after this, we're going to have an output node layer, and then finally, we're going to have the output. So you put the information, it's going to tell you, well, this patient most probably has IBD, whether it's an ulcerative colitis or whether it's a Crohn's disease. And it's going to tell you, on top of that, it's going to tell you, well, if we think this is Crohn's disease, we think that the best treatment for this patient is steroids or mesalamine or other modalities. So it's going to guide us, and it's not going to do the job for us, but it's going to guide us. So, and finally, the computer vision that we talked about earlier, it refers to the field of using computer system in processing images or videos, and how a computer might gain information of some form of understanding from this. So we're going to move on to talking about or differentiating between AI and artificial humanity. So we're all concerned that we may be replaced by robots, and at least for physicians, we're far away from this at this time. So a principal reason for this is that creating AI is one thing, but artificial humanity is a different thing completely. So we can teach a computer to spot a diagnosis of a polyp during colonoscopy. It's very easy to do. But we cannot teach a computer how to be kind of a humanitarian with the patient. We cannot teach the computer how to kind of interact with the patient, whether the patient is in pain, whether the patient is responding well to the sedation, and we don't have any empathy towards the patient with the computer. So again, the computer lacks this artificial humanity that we do have. So an AI algorithm may decide also on a patient treatment. It will tell you, well, this guy has Crohn's disease. We suggest to give them steroids. Well, most of women, they are concerned about weight gain and the hair loss and blah, 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 so many other things. So we have to take into consideration the concerns of the patients as well. So I conclude in this section, but the best way AI could revolutionize healthcare would be through an AI-assisted practice. So it's going to assist us. It's not going to, we should not practice an AI-driven practice. So we should not be driven by AI. We should be using AI to assist us in making diagnosis and reaching a better care of those patients. So now we're going to focus on the AI in endoscopy. And as we all see, this is a colon, and then there's a lesion here. And now all the technology has been working on different things. We're going to work on the image quality, and this is the CMOS technology, which has to do with the microchips that we use in those computers. And then the megapixels, or the 60p, which is the frequency of how much are we seeing those images back to back. And we're going to work on the magnification. So we can see the lesion, and then here we go. And then after this, there's a multi-layers of zoom, the same way that we have on our iPhones. And then it's going to allow us to see things in a better way, and then in a more focused way, in a zoom way. And then finally, we're going to be talking about the image-enhancing endoscopy, and I'm going to be talking about the BLI and then LCI, which are particular to Fuji. So the BLI, it's a blue laser imaging. It's a combination of special light, a wavelength. It results in improved and accurate contrast imaging, and it's going to allow us to kind of see where the margins of the lesions are. And the linked color imaging, or LCI, it's going to differentiate red color tones more effectively than the white light. So with the naked eye, we're going to see the white light, whereas with the LCI, it's going to work on those wavelengths. It provides a better color contrast with the red color range. And then finally, the main use of this LCI is to better detection of inflammation and accurate delineation of the lesions. So again, I'm not going to go through those a lot. This is the white light. The BLI is going to work on those wavelengths. And then the main objective is to detect better detection of lesions and inflammation. So this is a regular endoscopy. And then once we push the button of that BLI, we're going to see, here we go. So we could have missed that small lesion, but the BLI is going to show us this is the lesion. And then in the LCI also, it's going to show us that, hey, you got to pay attention, there's a lesion here. So all of this is the main objective of this, that we all know that the colorectal cancer is the third most common in incidence and the second in mortality. So the more we detect those small lesions at an earlier stage, the more we're preventing things from happening down the line. So again, the main objective of us is to identify those mucosal lesions, is to characterize them, and then finally this is going to guide us to remove those neoplastic lesions. So we, as endoscopists, we're going to be performing those colonoscopies. So again, colonoscopy is physician dependent, and I'm sorry. And then, but we as physicians, like, we can get tired sometimes, and then we can miss some lesions. And there are difficult lesions to be detected. They're going to be behind the folds if we don't have time, we don't pay attention. If we have other factors, which are including sedation or preparation of the patient, we can miss some lesions. So now we're going to use this AI technology to kind of assist us in better detection of those lesions. So this AI system does not have any fatigue. It's always working, and it's not affected by external factors, and it's operated independent. So it has a higher human capability, and there are 1 billion operations per second and 1.2 trillion operations per colonoscopy. So this kind of led us to introduce what we call the CAD-eye, which is the computer diagnosis or the computer-assisted diagnosis or imaging, computer imaging associated diagnosis, I'm sorry. So again, it's an eye, and then it's a computerized system it's a second eye actually for the endoscopist. So the endoscopist will be scoping, and there is something that's kind of helping them or assisting them. It's a computer system which is assisting them. So it's useful for non-expert, especially for fellows who are in training, so it's gonna allow you to detect more lesions. It's even experts, as we said, we can miss some lesions behind the fold, so it's very important to see them. And then it improves patient outcome, and this is our main concern. And then finally, it decreases healthcare costs. If we detect all those polyps, so that means the patient does not have to come back for another colonoscopy and does not have to come back with a colorectal cancer or interval colorectal cancer. So the Fujifilm, they have something called the Riley. And then again, this is in Japanese, actually, Riley, it means intelligent and resourceful. So this is a new feature of the future, actually, of medical imaging, and it's led by Fuji. And then again, as we can see, the logo by itself, it's formed of dynamically mixed colorful particles, an expression of the collaboration of a human being or the human brain and the AI. So from the logo, we can see that. And then again, Riley has not only been applied, or AI has not been only applied in endoscopy. As I said, we are late actually to the phase of applying AI in endoscopy. It has been applied to radiology mainly, and all around, if we have the PACS system, so it's made by AI and by Fuji system, the endoscopy, in vitro diagnostics, ultrasound, and then medical IT. So again, the CAD-eye, now we're gonna be focusing on the CAD-eye. It's a user-friendly GUI. It does not interfere with clinical images, and it minimizes the required eye movement. So I will show you that we will have one screen in front of us, and you don't have to move from one screen to the other. So everything is in front of you. You just use the AI actually to help you out making more diagnoses. So, and then there is a push button on that scope where you push on the CAD-eye system. It's a CAD-eye on or CAD-eye off, and we will go into more details in a second. So we have two features for the CAD-eye. The first one is the detection mode, and the second one is the characterization mode. So in the detection mode, we're gonna use, it's either we use the white light, it's either we use the LCI, and then the good thing, it's a real-time colonic polyp detection. So you're doing your colonoscopy, you push a button, you use this AI to help you out detecting more polyps or smaller lesions. So again, on white light, we saw one lesion, whereas once we switch to LCI, we can see 5 small lesions. So again, that helped us with a one push of a button. It helped us actually, it guide us, hey, pay attention, there are more polyps in this area. So again, these are the features for the CAD-eye. So you have the LCI, as we said, and you have the white light. And then the CAD-eye, it has on the push of a button, you have it's either you are in detection mode, you can say you push, you can say it's on, or you can push it's off. And then here, there is this, as you can see, there's a detection box where it just focuses and tells you the lesion is here. It displays the area where suspicious polyp is detected. And then you can see there's a circle around here, and we can see there's no circle on the left side, it's only on the right side. So the good thing that the visual assist circle, it lights up the border of the endoscopic image in the direction where the polyp is. So حتى هيدا عم تقول لك إنه the lesion is on the right side. So this is kind of helping us. And on top of everything, there is a kind of a beep which comes out. Once you see a polyp, بتيجي عندك هيدي البوكس وبتيجي عندك also a detection sound which is gonna beep when there is a suspicious polyp is detected. And then of course there is a full HD video recording for those lesions. So this is a video, this is in the right colon in retroflexion. And as you can see, you can say there are no polyps. And then all of a sudden, the system is going to tell you, you see, there's a box here. So you got to pay attention. There's a lesion here. We could have missed it easily. Once we're cleaning, we're pushing it back and forth, we could have missed it. Same thing here. So this is in forward view, and then all of a sudden there's a box which tells us there is a lesion in this area, so you gotta be focusing on this area. Okay, we're gonna move forward. So, so this is comparing the cat eye on and then the cat eye off. So once you're off, you can say, well, there are no lesions, and all of a sudden there's a box which is telling you there's a lesion, don't miss it. Here we go. Okay? So we talked about the detection mode, and then now we're going to talk about the characterization mode. So it just tells you, well, you have a polyp here. On top of that, there's another button which is going to tell you what type of polyp are you dealing with. Is this a hyperplastic polyp, or is this a cancerous or neoplastic polyp? So they differentiate between the lesser risk polyps, which are the hyperplastic polyps, the sessile-separated lesions, or the higher risk, whether they are adenomas and then cancer. They cannot tell you, well, this is a tubular adenoma. They cannot tell you this is neoplastic. I don't know. You have to remove it, and you have to send it to the histology to make sure what we're dealing with exactly, but just tell you this is neoplastic. So again, this is an example of hyperplastic polyp, sessile-separated polyp, and adenoma. And then the cat eye also allows us to kind of, they follow the certain classification, what we call the basic algorithm, which stands for the BLI Adenoma Serrated International Classification. It includes different things. It includes the surface, the pits, and then the vessels. These are specific for extra gastroenterologists will know about them. I don't want to bother you with those classifications. And then we talked about the cat eye features. It has to do with the surface information, and then it allows us also a deeper information about those polyps that we can check as well. And then finally, it will allow us for more superficial details, brighter, and then better characterization of those polyps. So here we go. So we said we're gonna use the BLI model, and then you have the cat eye, the button that you push on and off, and then it's in characterization mode. So earlier we talked about detection mode, now we're in characterization mode. It's on or off. And then there are two circles this time, and we're going to be talking about them. And there is this small screen. Again, everything happens on the same screen. So you don't have to look on different areas. So there is something which is telling you that there is something on the right upper quadrant. So pay attention. So you look as an endoscopist, and you see there is something here. And then on top of that, there is a visual assist circle, which is going to be focusing on the area. And then there's a position map, and this is what we're talking about. And then finally, there's a status bar. So the status bar is going to tell you, well, you have a lesion, which is in the right upper quadrant, and it's on your right side. So here we go. So again, we're in BLI mode, and then the computer is telling us, well, you have a lesion here, and then it's neoplastic. So it's an automatic kind of information that the computer is giving you. And the same other area, it just tells you there is something here, and it's hyperplastic. It's not neoplastic. So these are up information. So the product lineup, it's available currently. It's in-house technology. The setup of the system is very simple and very easy, and it has a lot of compatibility with a lot of other scopes. And again, as a summary, we talked about the detection mode, and we talked about the characterization mode. And of course, as any other system, there are some false positives for the system. Sometimes the system is very sensitive, and even if you have stools in the colon, it will tell you, well, there is something here. So you got to be careful as well. So it's a combination of things. And again, as we said in the very beginning, we are using this technology to assist us and not to kind of tell us what to do. So you have to use your judgment with the information that you're getting. So I'm going to conclude with certain information. So the future of AI-assisted technology in GI is an exciting prospect and has a number of potential applications for better healthcare, actually, for those patients. They range from the use of personalizing medicine, predicting treatment outcomes, and computer vision approaches in imaging and endoscopy, and then better understanding of some conditions through neural clustering. And then, of course, this new technologies has certain limitations. The approach of developing a vast number of different algorithms, all of which predict different diagnoses, opposed to one useful algorithm that could assist in a differential diagnostic dilemma. In addition, a concrete transformation of how promising studies using this technology may translate into clinical practice to us is still not clear. So it's despite everything we have done, or despite all the literature, it's still at its infancy rate, and people are working on this and then to get a better use of this information technology. And then we have some few questions. Will hospitals, government, or even individual physicians, would they purchase this thing or license to use these algorithms? Let's say you have an algorithm which has formed. Would you follow this algorithm, yes or no? It's still questions to be answered. And will one accurately mark the delineation between AI-assisted practice and AI-driven? And then how about the legal issues? So in the States, it's very important. I mean, the medical legal aspect of things. Legally, who would take responsibility? Let's say if the system tells you there's a lesion here, or you missed a lesion, or something like this, who would take responsibility for the patients that are incorrectly diagnosed by computerized diagnostics, and then the cancer that is missed, for instance, for example, who's going to take in charge of all of these things? And I'm going to conclude with one very important sentence. An inability to teach artificial humanity highlights the necessity of adopting an AI-assisted practice as opposed to an AI-driven one. Thank you.